Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, I wanted to take time to share my thoughts about this controversy involving Nike. So, Nike put out a sneaker that had the Betsy Ross flag on the back of it. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Betsy Ross flag, that's the original American flag that featured 13 stars representing the 13 American colonies. At the time when that flag was created, slavery was prevalent in this country. In fact, you had many politicians calling for the expansion of slavery in this country. Also, in recent years, the Bessie Ross flag has been taken up by white supremacist groups as one of their symbols. So, for those reasons, Colin Kaepernick felt that many people would be offended if Nike put out this shoe featuring this Bessie Ross flag. So, Nike listened to Colin Kaepernick and they decided not to release the shoe. And just for some background information about Colin Kaepernick, as you all know, Colin Kaepernick played for the San Francisco 49ers, and he started a protest against police brutality, where basically during the playing of the national anthem at the NFL games, he decided to kneel. Initially, he decided not to stand up during the playing of the national anthem. He would just remain seated. Then later, that evolved into him kneeling during the playing of the national anthem to protest against police brutality in this country. And as we all know, the brother became a free agent. No NFL team would sign him, and the brother later filed a complaint against the NFL saying that they were colluding to keep him out of the NFL because of his political beliefs. The brother reached a settlement with them, and around that time, he became like a spokesperson or a feature in a Nike ad campaign, and so he has influence within that Nike, and he used that influence to call on them to not issue this shoe, to not put the shoe out. Now, some of the shoes did get out to the public. They were sold. Some people have bought them and they are trying to resell them for marked up prices. I saw one article that said that one of the shoes was going for over $2,000. That's like 20 times the value of the shoe. So that's the situation, and you have a lot of people on the right condemning Colin Kaepernick because of this. They're condemning Nike, and you actually have one, I think it was a governor, talking about like taking action against Nike and withholding some of the incentives to get Nike to set up one of their factories there. So I wanted to share my thoughts about this. I mean, as we all know, slavery is a huge part of American history. You can't even talk about the founders of this country without talking about slavery. You can't talk about independence without talking about slavery. Because as these people were writing the Constitution, as they were declaring independence and talking about all men are created equal, we know that they did not even believe that black people were human beings. They believed that we were subhuman. In fact, we weren't even considered to be human beings or citizens at all. We didn't have any rights that these people had to respect. We were like property. That's what we were, chattel property. And that's the mentality that people had in this country. And that's the founding of this country, the great founding fathers that people are taught to celebrate. Many of them had black people as slaves. So slavery is represented in many of the symbols that we have. The Bessie Ross flag, obviously that's a symbol of that history of black people being enslaved in this country, that history of black people being bought and sold and beaten and raped and all that, stripped of their human identity. All of that is connected to that symbol. And as we are approaching the 4th of July, celebrating the independence of this country, when the United States declared its independence from the British, obviously they did not free the slaves in this country. African people were still in chains as the white man was celebrating white independence from Britain. We were still property. We were still being beaten and stripped of everything and abused in every imaginable way, as well documented in Frederick Douglass' speech, where he talks about what is the 4th of July to the slave. When I get a chance, I'll post a link in the description box so that you all could check out that speech, that famous speech. But yeah, all of this stuff is connected to slavery. I mean, that symbol is connected to slavery. And the fact that you have white supremacist groups taking it up as one of their own symbols speaks volumes in and of itself. So I support the brother Colin Kaepernick. I'm glad that he used his voice to call for them to remove that symbol. Because why would you have that kind of symbol? A symbol that goes back to the slavery days when you can just have the modern day American flag. And many could argue in many ways all these symbols represent racism because, again, this country was founded on racism, built on white supremacy, built on the enslavement of our African brothers and sisters, our ancestors. It was built on the genocide against the native people. This is the history of this country. So again, I understand why this brother, decided to use his voice against, this particular issue. But I think that there are more important and pressing issues that need to be addressed, that should be spoken out on. And, I hope that the brother uses his voice in that kind of way instead of like in a generalized way. I hope he uses his voice in these recent cases of police brutality. I hope he uses his voice to organize people. At the end of the day, while this is good, it's not the most important issue, as we can see. I mean, Nike having a flag on the back of their shoe is not nearly as important as the police brutality that our people face today, as the problem of mass incarceration, as the problems of failing schools in our community, as the problems of inner city violence that plagues our communities. I think those are the types of issues that deserve more attention. So again, while I commend the brother for, using his voice to call for the removal of this shoe or this particular symbol, I think that there are more important issues for us besides symbolism, issues that actually affect our lives. And I just hope that the brother uses his voice to address those kind of issues in a bigger way. Everyone appreciates his sacrifice, in terms of sacrificing his career to speak out on police brutality. But I think that not only him, but we need more people to speak out on these very important issues that affect us, issues that are far important than symbolism, far important than some shoe being put out here. So tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.